In this video, I will highlight the most important differentiators of VMware Carbon Black Workload. You will understand how to get visibility into all workloads, no matter if those are managed on-premise by vCenter or if you are hosting public cloud workloads on AWS, Azure, or GCP. As well, we will look into hardening the environment, making sure that assets are healthy across your organization and also compliant to your company policy. Carbon Black Workload Security has to offer not just the visibility and hardening part, but of course the prevention and detect and respond part. For the purpose of this video today, I'm going to be focusing on the left-hand side of CIS benchmarks, vulnerability assessment, and the workload visibility part. Once the Carbon Black Workload appliance is installed, in the vSphere client you can see the full inventory pulled up without any complicated agent installation process. As I can see here, in just a couple of clicks, I will be able to enable the sensor on my selected workloads. And in the Carbon Black Cloud console, I will have contextual visibility into all my vCenter workload details, such as my cluster, version, or hostname, for example. Same for your public cloud workloads. Once onboarded, in a few simple steps, you have the visibility into all details you need, as shown here when we look into the console, not just into the sensor status, for example, but also into the workload details of the AWS instance here in this particular example. And for all your workloads, you will have the same actionable dropdowns to take quick actions, such as updating sensors, changing policies, or simply querying an asset. Inventory maintenance has also never been easier before. In Carbon Black, you can simply decide to automatically deprovision sensors which have been inactive for a certain period of time. So you could do that on a global level, or you could decide on a per policy level to automate the deregistration of sensors, for example. Knowing where all my workloads are is one thing. Knowing if they are healthy is another. Imagine you do your daily routine check and you see an alert in your console, and the first question you ask yourself, is this workload I'm looking at here related to any sort of vulnerability? So you can see here that you have the chance to focus on the most critical vulnerabilities, whether on an operational system point of view and on an application basis. So one thing we are observing here is the risk score of the vulnerability. And actually, our CANA risk score incorporates a broad array of threat and vulnerability intelligence, which gives you a more dynamic and predictive view of your vulnerabilities, instead of just relying on a classical CVSS vulnerability score. You can also understand the details and how to fix the vulnerability with a direct link here to the NIST framework. And again, as a vSphere administrator, I have the exact same dashboard here on the vulnerabilities on the vCenter client, and that makes sure again that we are closing the gap between the IT and security teams. Currently available for all your Windows Server operating systems, CIS Benchmarks helps you to understand if you comply to your company policy. So in this case, for example, let's look at our password policy. I can decide to understand, first of all, what is these characteristics about, but also I can decide to switch off and to exclude a number of recommendations here based on my organizational preferences. I can also see the non-compliant assets, And maybe I want to exclude one asset because I feel it's not necessary to have it included in the assessment. Whether I want to view on an asset base where are my gaps are, this is the way how I can actually filter down to the non-compliant benchmarks. But as well, what I could understand is all the recommendations given. Let's stick to the same example of the password policy here, and to understand all my assets which aren't compliant to the password policy and the specific category I've been choosing here. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you are interested in learning more about all Carbon Black solutions, please visit carbonblack.vmware.com.